Okay, so Brandon Mason, like former Aggie player, but obviously you're the GM of both UNM and NMSU's TBT teams. I wanted to ask you about just getting this game to the pit, getting the tournament to the pit. Is there anything like you can share like behind the scenes and like how you got this game, how this game came to Albuquerque? Obviously, the pit is a well-known venue, so that's a good start. But like how did it come here?
I think last year, once we were able to join and got admitted to the TBT, um, we were able to set. I was trying to figure out a way to fund our travel and different things for that team. We were able to do an alumni game, which we had maybe like 4,000 fans that showed up, supported it. We did the Elam ending, and the way the support we had online and just that game that we did, the TBT, everybody watched it and took notice online and they said, "Man, that was really cool," And I said, "Man, imagine if you guys came to New Mexico and brought a region here." And like that's where those talks had started, because the TBT does have West Coast teams, but they never had a West or Southwest region or anywhere for them to get to that would be closer that made sense. And so, that was where everything started. And we're just very fortunate that they wanted to move on, and I connected the dots with UNM, and then they knocked it out of the park with presentations and different things, and it just made sense and it worked out.
Do you think that adding the NMSU team was that like a necessary thing, or did that make the site for UNM even more attractive because they knew they'd probably get, at least one big crowd? Like,
Yeah, no, I mean, so that was another thing that I'd said because I wanted to do it. I'll tell you this: when I was getting ready for the enchantment for the Lobo game at the first TBT site, I was at the hotel and walked past Trevor and Queen, and so I up him and I was like, "Look, dude, I'm really about doing an Aggie team next year. Would you be interested in playing?" He was like, "Of course, man. I love New Mexico State." But I mean, now he's in the NBA, so I mean, I
yeah,
continue.
yeah,
But just hearing him say, like, "Of course, I'd love to play." You know what I'm saying? I was like, "Oh, this is a no brainer. I got to get this thing rolling."
okay. Um, what does it mean? Like, what does it mean to you to, get this get this back to New Mexico, like where you've obviously spent a lot of your your years here, like just like you really like giving back to the basketball community. Is this like the ultimate thing? Is that the ultimate way that you've done it, you think?
It is. I mean, I take pride in the youth stuff and the grassroots stuff that I'm doing here in the community, and I take it very serious because I had mentors and people where I grew up in Chicago at the YMCA and different places that made sure that we were playing nonstop and in different tournaments and events and just we had different avenues in Chicago that I didn't see that needed just a little help here. And I have three boys of my own that are in this community that I want to be successful at basketball and life and everything. And so I was just wanted to be that person to just try to bring more attention and awareness to basketball and doing the right things here and all that. Bringing the TBT here, I thought it would be really good for our community. Just with all the teams coming from out of state, with hotels, restaurant, the university, having ESPN and Puma coming to it in the summer. Like nobody's really thinking about basketball too much. There's other things going on. And now just to bring something else that's special with professional basketball players that made a lot of the pit is going to be exciting, let alone Aggies versus Lobos game one, which I didn't think would happen game one.
Yeah.
But I mean, it does make sense whether you say, wow, I wish they wouldn't have played game one. At the end of the day, both teams that's the matchup they really wanted. So, I mean, I think it's actually pretty cool and it's going to be intense.
Go back to I think it was 2016 when you did there was an alumni game between the two schools. Like,
Mhm.
was that kind of like the early steps? Did you see it like happen? Like, was that the first time that you realized that like people would come, players would come, like it would be something that you could pull off here?
Yeah, I did. Like prior the year prior to that one, I had connected with Cameron Bairstow when we did the Lobo alumni game, and
Yeah.
it was 1,000 people on a Sunday at that game. So then I was like, you know what? Well, I'm an Aggie too. I was like, I have to let's figure out that that piece and mesh it together and set up that game. So when we're able to set that game up, we had 7,000 out there. And I was just like, wow, people care about these former players, but their school as well, and cheering on their colors, or the crimson, or cherry and silver, whatever you want to call it for both teams. And it's just the feedback and the response, the online presence, and just to see how excited people are about it is really cool.
What is your like as a player? I mean, what do you what do you remember about the pit? Like, how'd you guys do up there and against UNM, and just explain the rivalry to people that from as a player, and then obviously you've been around it as a coach and everything.
Yeah, so my first experience in the pit, I'll never forget. That was when they had 18,000 fans back then. I mean, they had Snake front row. I'm a outside of Chicago, 18 years old. I literally missed layups in the warm-ups being so, because just the tension built into the game. And that whole week you're talking about it, and then you finally step on the court and you're like, man, this is crazy. This is awesome. This is why you've heard about it, and you get to college basketball and you realize that you made it.
Yeah.
And as of course I didn't play a lot as a freshman, but as my sophomore, junior, and senior year, when I was able to start those 3 years, I was able to, you know, like at the game slowed down for me. It became so much more intense and better, and just like you could lose the 3 games at the beginning of the season, or 4 games, and if you win those 2 games versus versus each other in that rivalry, it'll change the whole season. Like
Yeah.
that's how those 2 games are. People have no idea. I think when I played, at some point, it was like the third biggest rivalry in the country at some point. And to keep that rolling, and to just bring some attention back to it in the summer, is just another way to just increase that and that excitement. And I would like to say some more drama or whatever, some
Yeah.
talk about. But this I have those moments that I always remember guarding like Ruben Douglas, and who led the nation in scoring. Lou Henson told me I shut him down, and he had 27. So I tell them all the time. Guard Marlon Palmer, and he had 30 points on us and like 15 assists or something crazy. And just those, it was some really good rivalries. I was right in between Kenny Thomas and Danny Granger, so I missed those guys.
Yeah.
But we did have some good battles, did have some success, won more games than I lost against UNM. So, and then being able to coach on both sides, seeing how the both universities operate, and being a part of the success of both. I was being there with Coach Marvin Menzies, and winning during the season and stuff. We didn't make it to the tournament that year, but we did win the championship for the WAC, and then being a part of Steve Alford's staff, and being a 3 seed and winning the Mountain West. So I've been on both sides as a player and a coach, and that's why it means so much to me.
What did Lou Henson tell the team about the rivalry, and especially like when you guys went to Albuquerque? Like, did he hype those games up to players, or did you guys kind of take care of it yourselves?
Yeah, no, I mean, Lou, we always talked about the seriousness of the game, and what it meant. But I mean, it wasn't. He didn't like put like the extra into it. But the play, we already knew the
Yeah.
players among each other. it would be the vets. Like I was a freshman, so it would be guys like Billy Keys and Zach
Yeah.
Norvell, the Aaron Broats, the Miko Nupalas that instilled how important that game was. And back then there was no social media presence really, so we just kind of, we would ramp each other up and just knew how important it was. And we honestly didn't like the other team, like,
Yeah.
like it was war. Nowadays everybody's Twitter friends and they know each other and they might hang out after and go eat or something. Who knows? But yeah, so and then when it was my turn to be that leader for the young guys, like we made sure that they knew how serious it was that whole week, to preparation, the mentality, the rest, the getting in the extra work, everything. It was almost, it's like a playoff game.
Yeah. Yeah. I talked to I mean, the NMSU, we're going to talk about a little bit about the roster, but I talked to Ian Baker, and he spent his whole career here, multiple years. So, like you mentioned, like it's different now because players spend their whole careers back when you played at one school for the most part. Now, like some of the NMSU players on this roster were here for maybe two. They liked their time, but they were here for 2 years, maybe 1 year. Like,
Uh-huh.
how do you think the rivalry is different for you know the guys that spent their whole careers here versus the transfer era of basketball that we're in now?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think about it's almost where they transferred from or where they transferred to. So, like, I mean, if you left New Mexico State or New Mexico and you transferred to Oregon, you transferred to Kansas or somewhere that's a higher level or something, and they have a rivalry and you're able to be a part of it. That's the only way I could see it trying to downplay it a little bit. But once you are a part of an Aggie Lobo traditional rivalry game, I believe there's nothing that really competes with it.
Okay.
I mean, of course, you have the Dukes and the North Carolinas and those battles, but just like we said, it's even on ESPN, they still bring up New Mexico and New Mexico State. The rivalry is so good they mix the names up.
That's true. That's true. Um, okay, well, what's the itinerary looking like? I mean, the game's like, coming up here for the Aggie fans. I talked to Preston. I had him on, and he said that they're going to do a training camp here. Can you give any updates? And I think there's a training camp here, but will fans have access to these guys for one of the days? And is there
Yeah,
anything you can share?
yeah. So Preston is going to be putting those details out pretty soon, and trust me, I couldn't do this without Preston. That's why he was one of the first phone calls I made when I started together. Just he's very organized. He's serious about it, and he can really coach. Like that's one thing that meant he should be that first guy to pull in. But yeah, there will be time for fans to be able to come watch the practices. After practice, they can talk to the players, get autographs. They can do get that interaction. We'll have some. There'll be a lot of time for that. The guys will be coming in on that Tuesday, Wednesday, and then they'll start practicing, and they'll be going to Lorenzo's, of course, eating meals there. Well, the head coach GH has been incredible with the support for the team. Coach Mario, there's been people, like when you start something new, so you never know how it's going to be received and where you're going to get that support. New Mexico State has been incredible. And I don't know if that's because Mario's actually in charge,
It doesn't hurt probably having the boss.
Hey, so listen, I asked Mario to be the head coach. Just to be honest, he's like GM now too. So I think we might
Okay.
be co-GMs. I don't know. But I thought, yeah. So it's having that full support from New Mexico State, and backing it. I just could see the future of it being, growing every year to where, next year they can maybe do an alumni game there. Maybe they can do a camp and golf tournament, different things, and make it like an Aggie week where more alumni come back, even just because you can't play you can still come be a part of it. And that's where I'm saying to have those former alumni guys come back and just be a part of that university any kind of way that they can, and and support their school.
Um, you, I'm gonna put a link to it in the description here on YouTube. But Preston put out the GoFundMe thing. Um, he said that you guys want to put a good experience on for these players. So like, can you explain to people why you're reaching out to the community to help these guys experience? And I think it mentioned travel costs as well. Like this is an expense, and you're trying to help make it a good experience for them.
For sure, because we want them to be taken care of, and to want to continue to come back as well. And after experiencing, last year, with the Lobo team, we the TBT even said, like, man, you guys did a great, phenomenal job with the way you ran the team, and people took notice of the way we did things. Like, we're one of the only teams that we had a team bus. We all stayed at the same hotel. When it was time to eat, we had meals brought to the players. Like, they were treated like college and professional athletes. I didn't, and in some other teams, like, some guys showed up the day of the game and just drove in, and then, they're all separate. Team shoot around, we're at shoot around together. The other team had like three guys over there. We when we want to do something and we're representing the university, we want to do it the right way and be organized, and at the end of the day, those guys need to be taken care of because they're taking time. They're not, the chances of trying to go win that $1 million, of course, it's slim, but we still want to be able to take care of them and make them feel, you know, like that they're somebody, because they are. So the more support that we can get, so we can take care of, hotels and food and different costs like that for them, it just makes the organization that much better.
So let's if just looking at the roster from what I know and from guys who played, and then what they've done maybe as pros. Um, how do you see the actual game playing out? It seems like NMSU, their guard play is going to be good. UNM has some good bigs. So what do you think of the two rosters and how the game might play out?
I have no idea. I've been thinking about it nonstop. And every day my vision changes for who I think is going to win the game. I know that sounds weird. Um, but one thing I do know is that the Aggies always have a chip on their shoulder. And yeah, and being in the group chat and just listening to them talk and to how together they are. Justin Hawkins is a leader, so he steps up and he texts every day, like he does. He's showing his leadership qualities, and those guys respond, and just they have some heavy guard pieces that can fill it up. And if any given time, by putting all those pieces together, I mean, they could score over 100 points. Like,
Sure.
you know what I'm saying? And the game has evolved to where, like, a lot of big men, really they just rebound and run the floor. They're not really, it's really a guards game.
Okay.
So, like, if BJ West and a couple of other guys can rebound the ball and defend, and finish a couple at the rim, or spread the defense, you just that's all you really need.
Okay.
Um, and on the Lobo side, they have some really good veteran pieces, and they're going to shoot the ball very well. Drew Gordon and Joe Furstinger, down low, they do have a presence, and that they're both professional basketball players still right now.
Yeah.
And the only thing is the Lobos do have TBT experience.
Yeah. For sure.
That and I will say this, uh, just the structure of the Elam ending, whether you save a timeout, or when should you foul to get to, so the Elam ending can start. Having sets ready to win the game, different strategies. It's not like a normal basketball game, and
Mm-hmm.
you sit in that seat. Last year, I didn't even want to coach. Trust me, I was trying to get out. I had I just really wanted to, make sure everything went well. But We did some things in that game last year that, and I've talked to both coaches and different things so that they can both be prepared. Just like, hey, that Elam ending is very important on how you manage that portion of the game to come out on top. So um, both teams will be well prepared. Both teams have already started, their film and things like that. So it's going to be a battle, and I'm excited about it. I just couldn't tell you who's going to win the game or who it's. It's basically whoever fills it up the most, because I feel like it's going to be a lot of threes made in that game.
Yeah, so some of NMSU's pieces that I like, obviously they have a Zach Lofton who's a pro and playing right now. Like they have some pros, but they also have guys that just finished their college careers. Do you think like that pro experience, like does UNM, do they have an edge in that category at least? They have TBT experience, but they also are pros, and I think that's different than college basketball. But just that's just me.
No, I completely agree with you. But one thing that you do need is you definitely need young legs.
Yeah.
You know, need young legs, and you need to have an edge. So, but both teams have an edge. The Aggies have an edge because that's how we're built, to have an edge. Every Aggie team always has an edge and a chip on the shoulder. And then the Lobos have an edge because of the way it played out last year. After being up 23 points and losing on national television, you through that embarrassment. I was embarrassed. So I mean,
Yeah.
going through that, you have an edge. So it's really pretty evenly matched. Except the Lobos just have a little more. I say the Lobos. The Enchantment have just more TBT experience.
Yeah, I mean, without getting too much into, I mean, kind of what happened like last year. Is that did we kind of see like the good side of putting a talented roster together, but then like also when these guys aren't together for that long, like anything can happen in the second half. Like chemistry can only be so good when you're together for such a short period of time. I don't know if that's what happened or like what was that like last year, I guess.
Yeah, you know what? Some things probably transpired just where we had a little breakdown. And then Doug Gottlieb did a good job of, he pressed that kind of ruffled us a little bit. And we had some key turnovers. And then so we called timeout, set up a press break, scored right away. But they had already had the momentum. And then, in the Elam ending, we were trying to attack and finish. We had 4 chances to win the game and came up dry. Guys are saying we got fouled, but the other team was playing through it, transition basket. Like it just that team was, they just outperformed us. And Doug Gottlieb did a good job.
Okay.
But that's why I said that the Enchantment should be a little more prepared
For
and
sure.
after going through that experience.
So what's your I talked to Grammar a little bit about this. Like what's your game day schedule since you rep both schools here?
Yeah, so what they'll do on the game day, I'll have both teams. They're going to practice at my facility at ABC at Albuquerque Basketball Club. So they'll practice one after the next. So I'll probably be at both of those. I just won't say anything. You know what I'm like?
Okay.
It's so funny in the group chats, and like I was on both Zoom calls for the staff meetings, right? And I just don't say anything, and then I think somebody in the Aggie one was like, somebody said something like, "Mace, you might as well get off this call now." So, but it's actually good. I love like being like in the middle and just like listening to both to see how they're preparing and what they're doing, and the Enchantment have already started, like working out and stuff. There
Yeah.
are like guys, a few of the core guys are already here, and the other ones are going to get here at the end of the week. So,
Yeah.
but Preston and that staff have already hit the ground running and preparing the guys mentally as well. So as soon as they touch down, I'm pretty sure they're going full speed just to work on some few key things. But at the end of the day, these guys are professional basketball players. Like, it's not rocket science, but it's just little game management stuff here or there that they have to get rolling.
So where are you gonna sit on game day though? That's what I'm like. I mean, how are you gonna spend your time when the game's going on?
Probably stand near the closest bench to who's winning.
Okay. Okay. All right.
No, I have no idea. I'm just joking.
Hey, I wanted to give you a chance to talk. You mentioned your club. I mean, is that like how long has that been something that you want to do? Because I think that it's obviously I don't think anyone. I mean, not many people have that. Are you the only prep school in New Mexico? Like, I mean, like,
Yeah, yeah. Um, well, we started with the AAU piece, and by getting our own facility, I had some help from a friend of mine, Josh Skarsgård, that we partnered together, and he's helped me get my own facility. So once we're able to lock that in, we have 26 AAU teams, boys and girls, in which we just went to a live event in California and won the championship with 6 New Mexico kids in front of college coaches,
yeah,
half like West schools, WCC, JUCO coaches, everything. So it's incredible that our kids are getting that opportunity. And on top of that, with my prep school, we're on the grind session, which is the highest level of high school competition there is. Last year, we played against Arizona Campus Prep. They were #1 in the country. Prolific Prep, Donda, which is Kanye West's school. We played them twice. We're playing the highest level of competition, and we're playing with kids from New Mexico. And I could easily go get 10 kids from somewhere else, and try to compete at a higher level or do more. But I'm not about the shoe deal stuff. I'm not about national attention for myself or anything. Or about the kids in New Mexico getting the opportunities that they haven't been able to get. Usually one or two kids get a chance to go play somewhere else and then their
yeah.
name blows. But if I can do it for a whole slew of kids, I think, we're heading in the right direction now. And with the offers and attention that our kids have been getting, it shows that it is a good little formula right now. It's working out.
I know Coach Nanez is on your staff for one of the teams. I mean, are there some Cruces prospects in your school at all, or?
Trust me, I'm in talk. Yeah, so one of my starters, his name's Tai Nui Tairoa, played at Mayfield.
Yeah. Yep.
And so before Keith got the job, he decided to leave to come play. So when Keith got the job, I felt bad. I was like, Keith, dude, I love you. but but yeah, Tai Nui is he's a 6'7",
Yeah.
plays 1 through 4, and he's done really well.
Okay.
And so he's the one from the Cruces area. I'm looking at a couple of other ones. I had Kason Sparks, who was on my post grad team last year for a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have some other guys in my AAU program, but not the prep.
All right, man. Hey, Brandon, it's good to talk to you, man. I'm looking forward to seeing you down here. Are you going to be in Cruces at all for the training camp, or?
Yeah, so I'm running. I have a golf tournament here on Friday, to try to raise some funds for the enchantment team. So what I'll do is after that, I'll get down there probably Saturday for that workout and things like that, and then I'll help bring all the guys up to the hotel with a few other people, and so I'll be there probably Saturday and come back Sunday or so.
Hey, man. Well, great work on this. I know you have like all you guys have like full-time jobs, and you're just doing this like because you're for the university or for basketball period. So I appreciate the time, man.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for having me on, man.